time doesn't exist, so it could just be you reliving what already happened.
What do you mean time doesn't exist?
I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm just like, time's not really a thing anymore.
Do you guys think like life is a simulation?
You're in a single player game. Everything that you experience is your game. You interpret it how you want to. You're going to hear it differently. You're going to see it differently. And you might say your time is different.
You know, you created this experience for yourself for the fun of it. So I guess in a way it's a simulation. Yeah, you were destined to make that choice, and so if everybody's destined to make a certain choice, then the results of that are destined to happen. Meaning that everything, in a sense, is predetermined, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you ever think we'll get an answer? Like even
I think it would be boring if we got an answer.
Yeah.
The answer is because if you love yourself enough, then you don't need to seek it from other people, and instead you get to share your love. So love yourself, share that with others.
Welcome back to Two for Us Podcast, where we talk about the rise, start, and Winnipeg's talent and personalities, aka #1 podcast in Winnipeg. We're at Summer of Sound again. Well, for us it was 5 minutes ago, for you guys it was a week ago.
New episode.
Now we got the brothers on, the Maharajh.
The Maharajh
The
brothers.
Maharajhs.
Thanks
No,
for having us.
the Kings.
Thank you again.
The
Thank
two
you.
Kings.
Welcome back, boys.
We're at Summer Sound. Look at the fit, first of all. Look at the fit. The rock star and the...
My mom made it.
Your mom made
She
it.
actually did.
She actually did?
Yeah, she actually did, yeah.
Does
Oh, wow.
your mom make both of your
she's-
clothes?
No, she usually just makes me like crazy jackets, but she makes them all like
Damn.
proper outfits.
That's awesome. I thought you got that at like Fashion Nova or something.
You'd think so, but no, I actually, what I do is if I find something that I like, I give
Yeah.
it to my mom and she'll like replicate it in different fabrics. So the original was something from Zara and it was black. And then I got a leopard print one, a zebra print one, and this one.
Nice.
And my dog has a matching collar to all of them.
So does your brother influence your style, or is
No,
Who
not
influences who?
really.
who influences who?
I think if you look at how I dress, I don't think
Yeah, we dress pretty
the
different.
only
for
thing
sure.
we have similar
Yeah.
on right now is a crystal.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so who's the older brother? You're the older brother.
I am, yeah.
And you're how old are you guys apart?
Three and a
4
half.
years apart.
4 years.
Yeah.
Do you hate him or do you hate him?
Do I hate him?
Do you guys hate each other?
No, definitely not.
What's the dynamic looking like between you guys?
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah?
We work together quite a bit.
Okay.
But like growing up, right? You always had like someone's bugging each other, like brothers' heads collide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I was always like closer to one brother than the next one, than the
Yeah.
next one. So I started, I was closest to my oldest brother, and
Right.
then Desner, and now I'm closest to Fah-jah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind of went younger, trying to stay young.
Do you go to him or do you tell him about your $1 million ideas and do you send him your music? Like how's that looking
Yes,
like?
to
Pretty much.
Well,
Both?
he doesn't send because I live with in the
Okay,
same
yeah,
place as him
yeah.
right now. So I just walk across from my bedroom to his studio, and then I'm like, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah.
And then ideas, yeah. Usually I'll tell him while I'm walking Chanel or something.
Yeah.
So do you hear him just bumping like,
Yeah, all the time, yeah. And then once I hear something good, I run downstairs and ask him,
yo, that's fire.
what's this one?
That's awesome, man.
Going back and forth. Where are we going with this?
So growing up, like, what was the dynamic like? Brothers. It's like, I never had a brother. I had an older sister.
Okay.
So like that dynamics, I got to bug her a little bit too. But like,
Yeah.
did Fah-jah ever bug you? Like,
I
we're
wouldn't
gonna
say
do, like,
it really
little
bug me. I mean, there's a lot to bug me about, to be really fair. It's not hard. But, I mean, I never really felt like that, no.
I think it was like once we became like teenagers, I think that's when the dynamic became less of that like bugging thing. Cause then I remember he'd kind of look after me a lot and like, try to get me to go out to parties and stuff like that, or, do stuff with his friends.
And there was, like, Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu, too.
Yeah, then we'd go to martial arts together. So I think we kind of always had like a closer bond because of that. Because we had like the same interests for a long time.
I think one of the most interesting conversations we had was when you came on and talked about astral projection. And fun fact, I actually went home and tried it.
And?
It didn't work. My
You just got to try it more.
I
It
was
takes
like-
a few times.
Okay, well, first of all, my question is, what do I do? Like, I just YouTubed, like, how to astral project, and there was,
Yeah.
like, this lady talking.
There's a few different, I would say, because there's a few different methods that you can find on YouTube. I would just say try each one until you find one that works.
Sure.
I don't know. Maybe it was easier for me because I was already meditating and doing all this other stuff like a ton. So it's like just a new thing to try. But it only really took me a couple times to really like be like, okay, I think I'm actually having a certain experience. Yeah.
And do you astral project? Or are you as spiritual as your brother?
Yeah, I think I am. I used to try, but I think I've had a different kind of dreams that were really weird.
Let's hear them.
Like seeing things that have happened elsewhere that I shouldn't have known about, kind of thing.
Okay.
So like there's one dream which was like, it was actually almost kind of traumatizing. Okay, but I'll
Let's hear it. We're here. Why not? Why not?
So,
Trauma hour.
yeah, so like I was dreaming I was like in the subway station. I'm just chilling, and then out of nowhere, some like girl jumps onto the tracks and gets hit. And I'm like, I woke up from that, and I was like shaking. I was like, holy shit. I was like, what was that? And like, I have like a dream journal, and I every time I see a symbol in my dream or something, I always like Google, what does this mean or something, you know? Not necessarily that I believe it, but it's just kind of cool. And so I couldn't find any meaning for a girl jumping in front of a railroad, in front of a subway. And so I was like, maybe it was like a real thing. So then I Googled the date, girl jumps in front of a subway. And then that very day, like 3 years ago, some girl had jumped in front of a subway in New York. What? And I was like, that's way too weird of a coincidence. Exact same night. It was like October 23rd or 24th. You could probably Google it if you wanted to.
That's nuts.
Wait, yeah, what?
Yeah, so I was like, I don't know what that was, but I remember the whole day I was like shaking, and I was like, my anxiety was like on a whole other level. I'm like, this is really weird. I'm like, dreams are strange. I don't know what that was, but yeah.
So like I've had dreams where like something will, like I'll dream the future. I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like for example, like this conversation, like there was parts of it where I'm like, yo, I've dreamt this before, and it's like kind of like deja vu.
Yeah. I get a ton of that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of deja vu. Pretty much everything. I used to literally dream my whole day and then wake up and do it.
Yeah.
Like I did that for like a 3-month period where I was like, oh, this is going to happen now. And then somebody walks in the door. I was like, this is weird.
Like, did you ever like, for example, like, someone's like chasing you in your dream, or you're about to get robbed, and that deja vu happens in real life? Does that ever like
you get robbed?
I mean, I never. I've been attempted robbery on me once. That's pretty much. Nobody successfully robbed me before. Nothing crazy like that. It'll be more like I'm like sitting on a couch and there's like a conversation happening, and then like I'm sitting there, I'm like, wait a second, we already had this conversation. Yeah. I was sitting exactly like this, or some opportunity comes in, like I already dreamt that was going to happen. Or
that can't be a coincidence, can it? Because it happens so much more than just like, oh, the odd time.
Yeah, well, time doesn't exist, so it could just be you reliving what already happened.
What do you mean time doesn't exist?
Yeah, like you mentioned you mentioned that on the last episode too, and we did get into it a little bit, but it didn't go into.
But you could go into like a physics explanation, or you could go into like just personal experience.
Okay.
I mean,
let's start with the personal.
I don't want to get into physical explanation because I'll probably butcher it, but like I have the understanding in my head. The personal experience is more just like you realizing when things are going slower or faster, or how aging works or whatever. Or you could just, again, when you get into physics, somebody who's further away from the Earth is aging slower. Yeah. So, I don't know. You just numerous experiences like that where you start to like realize, I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm just like, time's not really a thing anymore.
Yeah.
This is aside from like, if I didn't have a calendar, I would forget that the time exists. But right now I got to work and work on time. Once that exists, calendars won't exist for me anymore. Time won't exist anymore. I'll just be a guy.
They say time doesn't exist in dreams too. Like the period where you're actually dreaming is like a fraction of your sleep.
Yeah, it's an inception.
This reminds me of, because I just funny enough, I rewatched Interstellar like 3 days ago.
That's a good one too.
3 days ago, and where he just like doesn't age on that planet or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like him leading him the Tesseract. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, when you look at that and you see that time is just relative for each person, you realize that like as a construct of measuring, like, we just do because we're all in the same place, right? Like
that's kind of where like I talk to Robin about this a lot. Is like we see each other every Saturday morning because of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
But then like you're always writing a book, for example, I say it. And like everyone has their own chapters, but like your chapters will cross at one point. But what happens when you're like, go away? Like you have your own life. It's like you were a character in my story.
100%. Well, it's your reality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, that kind of idea I can't comprehend. Is like everyone has their own life outside of like my life.
But is the book written?
You're living a single player game. You're in a single player game. Everything that you experience is your game. You interpret it how you want to. Like how I interpret this conversation is going to be different than how you interpret it. You're going to hear it differently. You're going to see it differently. So really you're living a single player game, and things get just more interesting when you play it with somebody else.
Yeah.
But you're going to interpret everything different. Your reality is going to be different. And you might say your time is different.
But
too.
is the book already written? Like, is everything already written?
Predetermined, you mean?
Yeah,
Like,
predetermined, and we're just, no matter what we do,
We can't.
it's always going to end up that way.
Yeah, I go back and forth on that because
So
I
do
feel because I wonder too. I'm like, you know, you ever thought about like the illusion of choice, where like, you know, you might think you have a choice, but based on your preconditions, and you know, you were destined to make that choice. And so if everybody's destined to make a certain choice, then the results of that are destined to happen, meaning that everything in a sense is predetermined. So, you know, it's hard to say. How do you really know if you actually have true freedom of choice? Are you know, or are you just basing it off your own conditioning?
So what inspired? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you could also, it depends on how you look at reality too.
Right.
Because I think if you look at reality as a simulation, then you have choice. And we're in here to have choice, because the possibility is that you plug yourself into this world to have a human experience, because the human experience is a really fun game. And in this game, you can make choices. But if it's just actually us in the cosmos of what is that we think it is, then maybe there is no choice. So
there was like
it depends which one you look at.
There was like a similar movie that they created. I can't remember the name of the movie, but
Inception. Inception?
No. It's like someone's playing in a video game.
Oh, Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could just be on a whole other level, because, I mean, there's a really good argument behind that, because pretty much everything that we know that happens can be defined with a mathematical equation. So one could say that somebody coded that mathematical equation to design the game that we're living. And that seems really possible to me. And a lot of other people.
I'm just so...
that tends to be the leading theory right now for a lot of people. And I think that would also be a fun thing, because maybe when you die, you just go back and you're like, oh, this game was fun. And then you decide whether you want to play it again, or you just go back to living your life where you're like the spirit flying around the universe doing whatever you want. And you can, because I think that maybe outside of the simulation, you can literally do whatever you want, and that gets boring. So you plug yourself in to experience risk, and experience choices and experience that. So everything happening outside in your real universe or the real reality is boring. And then we want to have the human experience because it's actually fun and exciting. So you've got to make the best of it and play the game.
Yeah. So do you guys think like life is a simulation? Like crazy. Like it's already
I don't know yet. I haven't decided.
I kind of like there's like one, I guess, spiritual explanation or religious, and I guess kind of based off the Hindu explanation of like the ultimate reality of life, and we all technically come from that. And you know, there's like one which I know Alan Watts likes to talk about this, how you know you are the ultimate reality, and that you came into this for the excitement. And in a sense, that's essentially like what the religious explanation is. But in a sense, it's also kind of in a way a simulation. You know, you created this experience for yourself for the fun of it. So I guess in a way, I guess you could say, I think maybe in a way it's a simulation. Yeah.
So what happens when we die?
You would go back out into the outside of the game, and you'd be plugged in or something, and then you'd be like, well, I want to.
But what if that is also like a simulation?
It could be.
Like, what if you die
and
in
this
that
could
way?
be a simulation too, because if you look at the rate we're going with, like VR and stuff, maybe not in our lifetime, but it could easily happen where you can plug yourself in or like you're about to die and you plug your consciousness in and you start playing a game, and maybe that's what we're living right now, and it's just like a repeat cycle that goes on.
But what about like the petri dish idea, that we're all like in a petri dish and people are like...
It could easily be like that. I mean, if you look at the size of the universe versus what we are.
But do you think the person, I guess, above, or the person playing the simulation? Sure.
Like, is there someone, like, for example, when we play like FIFA, right? We have a controller, and I'm controlling like Cristiano Ronaldo or something. You know, I don't just, do you think that's someone like that? Like,
could be
outside, you know, like whether you call it like...
I actually would probably tend to think no.
Yeah.
Just off my experience, I'd say no.
Yeah.
I don't really have an explanation, but I don't really believe
it would be a very boring simulation to put your character to sleep for 8 hours.
Yeah. It would be very complicated. Like if you're thinking about when you're playing Sims, I think we make more sense of an example. Yeah. But if you're playing Sims, like, I don't know. Again, time's not a thing, so maybe for them, our life is like a second, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So like, that could be one way to look at it, but I just feel like the experience you're living is a little bit too complex to just be something as basic as that.
Yeah.
I think it would be kind of like plugging your consciousness in, and then your real self blacks out. You don't remember anything, and then when you go back, you remember everything. So you're actually just plugging yourself into like an alternate world, which is created.
Where does this come from? Like, where does this stem from? Like
why
psychedelics or?
Maybe
no offense.
No. I believe this for a while. I don't really believe that. I think that's just a possibility.
Sure.
I mean, Elon's talked about it, but there's been a lot of scientists that talked about it. I read it in a couple books, that theory. Future's faster than you think, I think was one of them.
I think like for him, he's like always been super into like physics and like space and stuff like that. I think he talked a bit about that on the last podcast he was on. For me, it's always been, I've always had like a proclivity to trying to study religions and stuff, and spirituality. Spirituality. And so like that's where my basis come from, and I think you can sense that because he talks about it more in a physical way, and then I tend to go more towards like a spiritual sense.
It's funny how both actually kind of link, because the more I study, I don't really study physics that much anymore, I was going to say that, but the more I studied it, the more I started to look into spirituality. And when I started reading a bunch of spirituality books he gave me, then I started reading physics books again. Because like, okay, this makes sense like this, but now I want to hear the physical explanation. They actually both like collide pretty interestingly.
Because like a lot of the like Vedanta stuff that like, which like the Be Here Now book, like some of these texts, like they are pretty much physics, like in a sense. They really do work really well with that. And like when you take some of the books where it's more about like the stories of the gods and stuff, that's a little bit more of the culture and stuff inserted into it, but the pure like philosophy texts are really just physics, I would say.
Yeah.
Do you ever think we'll get an answer?
No.
Like even
I think it would be boring if we got an answer.
Yeah.
The answer is because.
Well, what's the question though?
Like the answer, like will we ever know that we're in a simulation, or will we ever, like, as maybe
if
technology?
We're in a simulation, I think when you plug out or die, then you would know what happened, and then you have the choice of going back into it or not.
Well, the way I started to think about it is that, in what way does the world exist independent of an observer?
I have no idea what that means.
How does this table exist if you didn't have eyes, if you didn't have sense of touch?
Okay.
Because for example, this table is gray right now.
Yeah.
It only appears gray though. It's not actually inherently gray. Nothing about it is inherently that way.
But what about like the atom, neutrons, like protons that are in that? Yeah, like the matter actually that exists.
That could exist, but in a sense, this like a lot of what you're seeing here is illusion. But it exists in some sort of way in reality, and whatever that underlying reality is, I think leads to an answer of what is actually going on, and that actually also leads to an answer of like what you actually are.
Damn, you guys have a very unique view on life. I have to give it to you.
What happens when you spend a lot of time meditating?
What is like a lot of people say that, right? Like, and I mean, everyone has their own forms of meditation. And like what they do. For example, me, before an exam, I'll toss on some guided meditation to like help me calm down and stress, right?
Yeah.
But what is your guys' routine? Like, what do you do? Are you envisioning something, or you're just sitting there? And
I personally have a few different forms. I don't know about you. But
yeah, I have a few different ways, and I think no meditation is the same, and you shouldn't try to go into it with a goal. But typically, I have like a routine I'll do breathing exercises before, and then just go in, see what happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just calming. Sometimes I'm thinking about something, and sometimes I will elicit like a borderline psychedelic experience or something.
Yeah, I think one of the ones that I think it was, Naval talked about, but somebody else had talked about it that he heard, and he was like, just sit in silence for like 60 minutes and then do that for like 90 days each day. And like eventually like you'll just sort through your thoughts to the point where your thoughts just don't really like, it's just more you like listening to your thoughts, and then you're an observer of your mind instead.
Yeah.
And then you end up like in a kind of a space, like you can end up in a meditative space. But for me, I usually do breathing before. Like my daily routine would be I do my breathing exercises, and then I'll do a meditation where it's more just like sitting in silence. Sometimes I'll do like visualizing of what I want this day to be, or what I want to give to the world in this day. But at other moments, it might just be like just focusing on the present and just being in that moment. Or other times it'll be like going through a scenario of what happened, trying to figure out if that's actually what happened, because I mean, most of our memories are fake anyways. So there's a bunch of different kind of meditations. I also do guided meditations. Like last night before I went to bed, I did a guided Ram Dass meditation, which was nice.
Dropping a lot of things. Memories are fake. What do you mean by that?
I think they say something like 80% of what you remember is like slightly off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
So
if I remember this conversation, it might be slightly different than actually the way we watched it.
Or it's like you're remembering the last time you remembered it.
Yeah. So when you're looking through your memories, like everything's going to be slightly different as you remember it, which is why I mean, we pretty much always lie.
When you tell stories about what happened to, it's always slightly different, and then you'll build up on that story. And if somebody inserts something in that story, then you change it a bit more too. It's funny because like most of like people's identity is built up on things that have happened to them in their memories, meaning that probably 80% of who you think you are is probably not
which is
really
why
the case.
You should focus on the present and not the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So how do you do that? How do you focus on the present?
Just be here.
Should we do a meditation right now? Just what's a quick like?
I mean, it would if we did a meditation, it'd just be us sitting in silence. I
don't know.
What's a quick something like if somebody wants to get into it?
I would say we already are meditating.
Yeah,
because we're focused on this conversation and completely absorbed in it.
Okay.
So I would say that's a form of meditation.
Kind of. I'm not 100% absorbed. There's a lot of people walking by.
Yeah, that is true. And it's only going to get busier and busier. But yes, there is a lot going on.
The best thing I could come up with for all of us to do would be ohms.
Let's do it. Let's run it. You guys lead it.
Yeah. Pretty loud.
We need Sadhguru to lead it.
Yeah, we need. Yeah.
How do we get him in?
I do different ohms where like you do different madras and mantras. So you put your hands in a certain way, and then you'll say a certain ohm or a syllable.
Sure.
And then you hold it out.
What's something we can do to ensure the success of this event and this podcast?
I mean, you can't really fix the future.
Yeah, of course.
All you can do is put as much love into everything that's happening as you can.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you excited to see him perform?
I am. I'm very excited.
Does it make you nervous?
Like make me nervous?
Yeah. Or are you excited?
No, I know he'll do good. I've been excited for like a week. I haven't I had a smoothie. I wasn't able to eat because I was too excited. I've been looking forward to this for a while. It's my first year not working it in some form. Mm-hmm. So either I was putting up posters for after parties or something, or I used to help run the event, I guess you could say, in like 2015, 2016, and promote. But this is like my first year where I'm actually partying and enjoying the experience.
Now you get to enjoy it.
Yeah,
right?
And he's playing, and then Panda's playing, and then
the whole night's gonna be
exciting.
Yeah,
let's run it.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
all right.
Excited for that.
Anything you want to leave the audience with?
The two.
Be love. You should be love.
You should be loved. I like that.
No, you should be love.
Oh, you should be loved.
Yeah, if you love yourself enough, then you don't need to seek it from other people, and instead you get to share your love. So love yourself and share that with others.
Was the Ram Dass meditation the I am loving awareness?
It was the be centered now, I think, or something like that.
Be here now.
Just be centered. There's a word centered in it somewhere.
Be present.
I'd recommend reading the Be Here Now book by Ram Dass.
Incredible.
That it's apparently inspired
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, Steve Jobs to go to India.
He made Steve Jobs go to India for a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Left working at Atari.
I actually did not know that.
For like a year.
It's a incredible book. It's like 100 pages of really cool illustrations, but the words are built into them. It's all this crazy spiritual stuff where he ties in Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, everything, and and then the last chunk of pages are about how to conduct a proper spiritual life, from yoga, having sex, relationships, everything. It's pretty.
It's an incredible book.
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out.
It made me want to go to India, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Let's cut it.
All right.
Let's cut it right there.
Thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to check out the brothers. We'll tag them in the description below. We're on all streaming platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of that. We're live every Tuesday morning at 11:30 a.m. on the UMFM radio station, 101.5 FM. Until next time, peace.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks.
All righty.